my name is Dave Reski, CEO of Now Speed Marketing, and welcome to this edition of Marketing and Now, where we talk about the best ideas of marketing. And my guest today is Osnat Lidor, a fractional CMO with her own company, Demand Gen Studio. Osnat, welcome to the show.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Osnat is a growth marketing leader with 20 more than 20 years of experience in helping B2B SaaS and tech companies grow their businesses and drive demand. And I'm excited about talking about some of the most interesting subjects about how to get startups off the ground and help them grow. But before I get into that, I just want you to tell me a little bit about yourself and maybe start with where do you live and what do you like about your town?
Well, I live in New Jersey. I live in Tenafly, New Jersey, in Bergen County. That's in the north of New Jersey state. And this town is small, but there's a great community here. We have a really, really good community in terms of activities and actions. And you walk down the street, you know a lot of the people of the town, and it's just a great place to live. But one of the other benefits is the fact that it's very close to the city. So if you take the bus, it's 40 minutes, 45 minutes to get to New York. So you get both, the community and the small city, the small town, and on the other hand, you're pretty close to New York, to Manhattan. So I really love this place. A
That's
great,
awesome.
great place to live in.
Sounds like you got the best of both worlds. You got a little friend behind
Yep.
you too. Who's your dog?
So that's Dolly. That's my
Dolly.
little dog. Yeah,
That's awesome. It looks like he's
she's
having a nap,
sleeping.
which is what I might do after this interview. That's okay. Yeah, that's great. Well, you and
No
I have been
problem.
talking about how companies can go beyond the seed round. Often tech companies start with that seed round and get off the ground, and then they're building their product, they're building their MVP, they're getting their first customers off the ground. But once they get past that, they need to start growing more rapidly. And in our experience, I think there's a lot of information out there to help startups get going in the early stages of marketing. But often companies get stuck in that second phase and don't break out to strong growth. So, in your experience, what are the key things that companies need to do to energize themselves in that next phase of growth?
Yeah. Well, as we spoke about it, the in the early stages, I think what I'm seeing a lot out in the industry is startups are starting with the founder sales growth, right? Using their network, using their VC network, selling really kind of it's not a one by one, but it's a really it's a gradual sales that is really counted on their immediate network and the people that they know and and so forth. Also counting on, many times paid ads, right? Putting PPC out there for very immediate sales. And that's a great thing. However, it's a very expensive thing, right? And it's not compoundable. So you cannot trust paid ads over time. At some point, there's starting to be a competition, and you really just fighting on dollars. It's not something that you can count on long term. So when a startup says, okay, we see that there's a product market fit here that we can trust. We see that people want the product, they enjoy the product, they give it, the product gives companies value. Now we pass the seed. Now we need to go to the next stage for A or B rounds, mostly A rounds. Um, we have to start building better engines of growth. And you and I both work in these territories, right? We need to build these, how you call it now, the EAT. We need to build the expertise, right? The company has the expertise. The people that build the company know the market really well. You have the experience of selling to customers, to companies that want this product, that have the pain. You have the authority because you've made it, and you now need to build the trust, right? You have the trust of your customers. You know that you can gain trust from the market, and that's the stage that you, as a startup, you really need to put those things out there and start building content marketing, growth engines that are built on the pain of the customer. So if the customer is the potential customer is searching for a solution, they will find you regardless if you're putting out paid ads or not. They'll start seeing you because you're dripping your knowledge in various places, and they are hearing your name, everywhere. So this is really the growth engine of the second stage beyond just, the founder sales and the paid ads growth. And it's a whole kind of I don't know if to call it a method, but it's a whole toolkit of, okay, now we're going to the next stage. What do we have? What's the stock that we have in this company? What's the expertise that we have, and how do we build that so the company can shine?
So the founder is going beyond those early stage leads, and they're a network, and they're really trying to get a broader market presence. So, what are the first marketing things they should be thinking about there? Is it's time to redesign the website? Is it time to put together a content marketing plan? Do they invest in, a new marketing automation platform? Do they start doing trade shows? And how would you advise that this, hypothetical company to kind of go beyond and start to break out into demand?
I would first, so what you said, website, marketing automation platforms, which has to be put in place. Of course, this is kind of a foundational thing, right? And a great website is a foundational thing. Um, um, uh, Events are more tactical, right? This is okay. Which events? How would we go? Why would we go? What's the goal here? I think the first thing is to understand, okay, what is our target audience? Who are we selling to, and what is the goal here? Who do we want to reach, and where are they located? So we can really tap into their pain. We can really show that we understand their pain, and then building the tactical a plan. Now, I think one of the problems today with startups that they're trying to be too strategic and being lost in strategy instead of executing. That's one of the big problems. So yes, understanding the customer, understanding their pain and how to reach them, of course, you have to plan for that. But then really building an execution plan that is just about putting all the knowledge, all the stock that you have in terms of authorities, expertise out there, um, um, starting to build, okay, what can we do in terms of content marketing? What are the channels that we own? What are the channels that we can earn to put our content out there? And really building that plan of execution that you can start, putting your knowledge of the company out there in the market. I would start really by mapping this out in terms of what do we have? Do we have customers that can share reviews, right? Do we have customers that can share testimonials? What is the customer journey that we have, and how can we bring that to the most frictionless point in the process, right? If our market is now CISOs, how do we make sure that of course, that's the hardest market to get to, right? The CISOs of the enterprise companies. How do we make sure that we get there, that they hear about us and make the flow, the journey as easy as possible? So it's about, yes, this is the content that we want to put out there. This is the knowledge and thought leadership that we want to put out there. Once they hit us, once they make this opt in, or once they join, once they read that piece of content, what is the process that we need to do to make sure that we continue to nurture and build upon this? So really mapping this out would be the first step. Let's say it's a long first step, but it's the first step of understanding how to build these engines. What I see a lot is doing half of that, right? Let's do a lot of content and putting it out there, but then the website does not have the right content, does not have the right visuals. It's completely, it talks to a different audience that the company actually is aiming for, right? If you're aiming for D2C marketing folks, and your website looks like it's a CFO for website, right? It's very analytical, but you're selling to somebody that is living in ads and a lot of visuals and the funnel of a consumer market that doesn't register with them. So really understanding the full cycle of um, putting content out there, but also making um, our platforms, our foundation, um, um, clear and frictionless for the target audience is the way to go. Once you do that, it's pretty easy to start the engines running. And from many times, what I'm seeing is it's just mind blowing to founders to see how things start to work,
Mm.
right? You probably see that in your agency too. Once you put things in place, it's like, why didn't we do that before? Traffic starts growing, leads start getting in, better leads, qualified leads, right? That's our point. But it's really first about understanding what do we need to do, who are we aiming for?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You said something very interesting at the beginning of those comments, and that is that some companies get stuck in the strategy phase. They spend too much time on strategy and don't and are hesitant to move in execution. What did you mean by that? Do you feel like because strategy seems important, right? So we want to make sure
Yes.
that's right. You want to make sure you've got product market fit, you understand your target audiences, and you understand the buying cycle, you understand all that. But how do companies get stuck maybe in that early phase? Is it more an investment cycle they're afraid to get into? Is it afraid of like kind of taking their ideas and seeing if they actually work and they're afraid they'll get rejected and it won't work? So what are the things that kind of keep you in strategy and make companies reluctant to actually start executing?
Yeah, I think there's the founders are many times living in FOMO, right? I'm missing something. How is the big incumbent, doing that, doing these cycles and building these engines, these funnels? I must be missing something. And then reading a lot of, content out there, reading a lot of strategy guides, and trying to be too strategic just to make sure that you're not missing any steps in the process. And that could really cause them to freeze instead of being actionable.
Hmm.
um, what is the value of that channel? How do we measure that channel? Let's put in place all the guardrails that we can to make sure that we're trying it, but also testing it and A/B testing it. And what is the guideline for testing it? And let's write this out and let's do a presentation about. So getting into these cycles of let's make sure everything is set and quantifiable before we actually do and execute. And there's a big difference between a corporate, right, and a startup. A corporate, you have to do that because there's a lot of money in stake. There are a lot of stakeholders. There are a lot of shareholders that are out there, but and every movement takes a lot of people to execute it. But on the other hand, at a startup, you're so small, you just have to run. If you try to calculate too much, that could ruin a company. And the worst things the worst things that I'm seeing is trying to only do in marketing channels that are trackable and quantifiable, right? One of the things that you probably see that a lot, we see that in SEO, we see that in GEO. There's a lot of work and content marketing and thought leadership, right? A lot of work that is being done that is not trackable. You put a lot of comments on Reddit right now. We work a lot on GEO. You comment on professional Reddit questions, and you don't put a link. You don't see the attribution. You don't see that. You don't know if it's effective or not, but you have to trust the process, right? You have to trust the process. You put a lot of thought leadership posts up there. You put a lot of blogs and listicles, but you don't see immediate results. You have to count on the fact that it's compounding to a state that you will be a part of the chosen list, right? You'll be a part of the ones that are coming up when a customer is starting to search for a solution. Um, and that's why, many times when you're stuck too much in strategy and you prefer to do the trackable actions that will yield very quantifiable results, you're losing a lot. That's
Mhm.
something that many startups can't afford. And it's about giving up some of the strategy and just doing things that that are effective. Of course, in strategy, you have to do, what is your ICP? What is your target audience? What do they like? Where are they? What is the keyword? What are the keywords and key terms that drive them? What is their pain? These strategies are the foundation, right, of doing good marketing. But getting too stuck in the actionable processes are in the kind of planning for the actionable processes, and the KPI could be harmful.
Yeah, it's almost
Was
like
it too long of a question of an
no,
answer to?
no, that was beautiful. So yeah, it almost reminds me like in the startup phase, if a founder waited too long to start talking to customers, getting customer feedback, or making initial sales
Yeah.
calls to try to get those, or as you'd say, don't do that. Go out, talk to customers, make
Yep.
those sales calls, get out there and do that. The same way, once you hit that growth stage, you've got to start putting content out there. I would argue the ads are going to be part of that, content's part of
Yes.
that, email's part of that, social's part of that. All of those things are part of it. But and you got to try that. I really like your comment about not everything is trackable, and as a performance marketing agency, we like to think that we are accountable for results. But you're right, especially in the area of GEO. So like
Yep.
because the AIs, as the LMs are answering the questions, um, there's no necessarily they're answering the questions without anybody going to your website, and
Right.
getting into those answer engines is super important. So are you seeing specific strategies already with your clients around GEO, and how are they kind of tackling that issue?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is all about, it changed everything, right? Sorry, I'll rephrase that. It did not change everything, but it highlighted and made content and authority a lot more valuable. Before we did SEO, it was about putting content out there, being included in articles, but there were really specific guidelines of how to run SEO, right? How your website needs to be built, what are the numbers of, the backlinks. You really knew the rule book was there. And now GEO kind of changed a lot of things, and it made you um, you have to work better on building authority and building expertise. Your expertise, kind of show it out there. Um, Doing a lot more. It's not now about, what Google ranks on keywords. It's about, and being included in some articles, it's about really doubling down on answering questions for public forums, for Reddit, for Quora, in Facebook groups. Really making sure that you're writing about your industry. You cannot avoid putting competitors' names on your website anymore. I knew a lot of companies that were saying, I'm not putting my competitors on my website. No way. They're not included in any of my lists. I only put, partners. That's not acceptable anymore. You have to put listicles. You have to be included in lists of other companies with your competitors. That's a part of the deal, because ChatGPT and others, they're looking for credibility. They're looking for the holistic answer for more than just yourself. So you have to be a part of this kind of mechanism. Um, what I love seeing now is the fact that you can really track, in your analytics, who is coming from which engine. So you know where they're coming from Perplexity, you know where they're coming from ChatGPT, and you can really quantify that in their UTMs. You really know about and if you're doing it correctly, you're also adding this to how did you hear about us? You're adding the AI engine as an answer, as a potential answer. But really building a lot more authority and a lot more content out there is what changed. Of course, there are changes to the website that you have to do. You have to be more answerable
Mhm.
than just based on keywords. And I love that. I think that makes the world of content marketing a lot more um, critical and important. And the fact that companies now understand that they really need to put their knowledge out there to put their differentiation out there, and not just being, more of the same, like the competition. And it's really, it's resulting in the results are good. The customers that are coming in, the potential customers are more intentional. They've done the research. They understand the product better. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
everyone knows that the impressions are down, and the search is down, and it's
But
part of the problem.
they customers trust the recommendations from ChatGPT, so we have to
It's
and
amazing.
others, and we have to be there. I really like what you said about those strategies. Talk to me about the flywheel effect of doing all this. So the founders going beyond that early stage, they trust you to start putting out content, and they're doing some advertising, and they're building up their website, and they've got an integrated strategy. What's the compound effect of all of that together? Or can you just get away with one trick? Let's just say we just do the content, or we just do the
Yeah.
website, or we just do the advertising. What is the compound effect of kind of doing all of it together, and what I might call the flywheel effect?
Well, I would always recommend, doing it. You cannot trust just one practice, just one engine. You have to keep doubling down on your website. Your website is your most important asset, and continue to evolve and to fit the audience. Continue to add to it and keep it alive, kind of a live organism of your organization. Um, and you need the content itself, as it compounds. It's, an evergreen part of your marketing. You're putting content out there. You put the right keywords, you put the right, definitions of how the market talks. It speaks together with the other content that you're putting. So for example, you put content out there with the terms that are important to your organization. A lot of content pieces, you kind of seeding it. You talk in a webinar, right? Or you talk in an event, and you mention these keywords, and they're searched. The things that you put 6 months ago, a year ago, still compound, right? They still come up in the search. So it's kind of an evergreen, repurposed work that you do, and the value is endless for content that you put out there, and it's a long-term investment. On the other hand, you do need to put. I believe in paid ads. I think that paid ads need to work together with kind of compounded content marketing, because paid ads are based on high intent of the users, right? They're searching now for something. It's the first thing that they see when they are searching for a relevant keyword. And if you're doing it correctly and you're writing the right message in the ad, they're immediately coming to you, and you're kind of a knowledgeable source for that specific pain. So it really needs to work together. This combination of content marketing, long-term, immediate paid ads, and your website, your owned sources. Um, I want to say something else. I forgot completely. But in general, I think that the 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 thing that we're seeing, and I'm seeing it with a lot of early to kind of between the A and the seed, the thought is I need to reduce the CAC, right? If you put all your eggs in paid ads in the beginning, and now the cost of your leads and your closed ones are very high because they're all coming from paid ads. That's what you're putting on your money on. Now you need to start thinking of I need to reduce that to increase my organic. So if people are searching for the terms and the key terms of my topics of my subject matter, I will come up first, right? I will be an authoritative, and I can start reducing some of the spend that I'm putting on these keywords and ads. Also unbranded, right? If the name of my company is, if I'm putting so much money on the name of the company and it's not coming up at the first option when somebody searches for the name of my company, I really need to double down on that content. I need to reduce the CAC on branded, the cost of acquisition on unbranded uh, words,
Yeah,
right? So
those are
that's kind of balancing together on that stage.
Yeah, those are really powerful strategies. I love the way that you laid all of that out. It's clear that, going beyond that founder-led sales and that early network is really critical for companies in order to grow. You talked
Yep.
about content, websites, leveraging paid, but also lowering the cost of customer acquisition by having more earned media, social strategy, all those pieces working together to create that flywheel effect to start to see something really happen. And you've been very successful at doing that
Yeah.
for your clients. So
I
yeah,
Yeah, I would add to that also the fact that when you start, I forgot something before, and now so I would add to that the fact that when you put in place the right workflows for how do not okay, now I got these I have these, 100 companies that I target, right? And now I have these coming to my website, and I don't have the right um, wheels in place and workflows in place to continue nurturing these customers. So continue retargeting ads, right? The right retargeting ads. Continue with email marketing to know who exactly, do website identification to know exactly who came and when, and to reach out to them and to inform the sales that they are these are warm leads that are qualified and came to moment. So it's not only about, I think today that the crucial thing is about, it's not only about bringing them to your website, right? Building all those things out there. It's about, okay, they came to my website, my landing page. Now what do I do? How do I continue to build on that? And not stopping until I have either unsubscribed or be shouted on, or a demo being set, or they
yeah,
download my product. So that's kind of a continuous. That's a part of marketing, right? A part of marketing is bringing traffic, bringing qualified leads, but also nurturing them and until they become a customer.
yeah. It's all works together. Well, Osnat, this has been an amazing conversation. You've clearly got a lot of great expertise and experience in doing this for customers. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, learn more about how you can help them, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So reach out to me. I think LinkedIn would be the best place. So Osnat Lidor. Is it Osnat Lidor? I think Osnat Geva Lidor on LinkedIn, and DM me, and I'll reach back.
Great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you. Great talking to you.